All right. After an exciting round one, we are back with round two in short order. We have a fun matchup here. We have on one side, we have a player that I think a lot of us know and have seen in several Lorcana challenges and other competitive events. It's Aaron Rubin, aka Lorcana Bro. Aaron is a former Magic the Gathering pro player who's broken into the world of Lorcana and had some really impressive results so far in early competitive events, finishing top 16 in Atlanta, and then I think it was top 32 in Chicago. So qualifying the top cut both times around. On the other side, we have Matt. Matt, very successful in the first round, playing a Ruby Sapphire build, a similar deck that we saw in the first round. And this should be a really exciting matchup here. I'm very excited for it. Aaron choosing to come in here with a Steel Song list, a list that has been popular for or ever since the start of the game. I think Steel Song, along with Ruby Amethyst, are the two decks that were kind of the in the zeitgeist as the decks to play, and it's held on as a pretty competitive deck with getting some new tools each set. Not as prominent though in the meta in set four, and so a set that or a list that we've seen in Lorcana challenges and other big events, but really not making it too high in those tournament results. But Aaron carrying into this 1K here, kind of testing out a build, and we're really excited to see what he does with it. So on the one side, on the here we go. Okay, we've tweaking the top cut. I know Aaron's playing Steel Song for sure, so that was accurate. And then on the other side, it does look like I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the top banner's telling us. I know they're getting some more stuff worked out with the overlay, but I do believe that the player is on Ruby Sapphire there on the other side. So let's talk about Ruby Sapphire for a second. We did see it first round. For anybody tuning in later who perhaps doesn't know what this deck's trying to do, this deck is really trying to make it into the end game. It has a significant end game engine that it's trying to build with high lore cards and Lucky Dime, able to close games out quickly using cards like Flavisham in the endgame to consistently draw cards. And it tries to build up a significant ink advantage with some ramp cards, with cards like Fishbone Quill, enabling it to do some end game shenanigans with all of the resources that it has available. But it really wants to get to turn 6-7, where a lot of its control options become available, and then build its end game engine to close things out. On the other side, you have Steel Song, and Steel Song can be played honestly a variety of different ways. But one of the things that makes Steel Song good is it has the removal options of steel available, and a lot of steel songs, but it builds up a resource advantage through singers oftentimes. It can put a bunch of characters on the board with high cost or high singer abilities that enable this deck to play a lot of cards on its turn using its characters rather than relying on ink all the time. So here we have a Benja going in the Inkwell, and we see a very popular shift in this deck, shifting into Queen, Regal Monarch there in turn two, and then Regal Monarch there questing for two. These low-cost shift characters have become really popular in the Steel Song deck, particularly Queen Regal Monarch, because it's a 5-cost card that allows you to sing 5-cost songs on turn two. And so if Aaron's running a whole new world, which he likely is, or another 5-cost song like Grab Your Swords, he could sing that song on turn two. Now, you wouldn't want to sing Grab Your Swords, but A Whole New World is what you typically sing there. But a line Aaron didn't choose to play her, choosing instead to quest for two and get that early lore. So a really powerful shift move early on. On the other side, we do see a Fishbone Quill on the board, and we see an Ice Block on the board. Ice Block is a fun card this meta. While we wait for the stream to come back up here. But it's charming, isn't it? Okay, so we're back. Queen there, as we talked about the singers before, singing Let the Storm Rage On, doing 2 damage to Flavisham. Let the Storm Rage On, a fun card. Not only do you get damage off it, but you get to draw a card off of it. So sometimes when you can sing it, it feels like a no-brainer to play, get you at least another card, deal some damage. Aaron's choosing it to use it primarily with the card draw here. Then he is using Ariel. He's playing Ariel Spectacular Singer, which allows you to look at the first 4 cards or top 4 cards of your deck, find a song, put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom. These decks typically run in the range of 18 or more songs. When Frank Karsten won Leal, Disney Lorcana Challenge Leal, he played a Steel Song deck, and he had 18 songs in there. He said that was about the number that he likes to be at. So a full third of the cards in this deck, or about a third of the cards in this deck, are usually songs. And so hence the name Steel Song. And it makes Ariel Spectacular Singer hit on a song off the top of the deck quite a bit of the time. We do have a Sleepy's Flute down on Aaron's side of the board. Sleepy's Flute, a song that allows you to gain a lore by exerting it every time you play a song or every turn you play a song. So with the number of songs in this deck, this will allow Aaron to gain probably a lore a turn off that flute and close it out, allowing him to close it out a lot faster than he would without it. Madame Medusa coming down and removing Queen Regal Monarch, coupled with an Ice Block there. And then it looks like Flavisham questing and getting the card draw off the Flavisham. Players moving quickly. It's one of the things in these decks when players know their decks very well and they know their opponent's decks through studying the meta. Players are able to play very fast because they've already thought through and played through a lot of these options over and over and over again. Aaron there playing another Let the Storm Rage on, drawing a card, dealing 2 more damage, and then the third Let the Storm Rage on. So 3 Storm Rages on. The Storm raged quite a bit with over Flavisham there, removing him from the board with 6 total damage off those 3 cards. Oh, and here we have another new card from Ursula's Return. It's Vanessa. Vanessa is not only a card that's decent in the early game, but it's a card you can shift into later if you're running the a shift line. And now I have how far I'll go. A card that allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one into your inkwell and the other in your hand. So there we see a card go into the inkwell, choosing to keep there. It looks like another Medusa. There's how far I'll go. And there we see the high cost Sisu there, clearing out. Sisu's a card, 5/4 with 3 lore. When it comes into play, you can banish all your opponent's characters with strength 2 or less. Oftentimes, nowadays, we see this coupled with Ice Block to reduce strength and get more value out of that Sisu. But in this case, didn't need to, able to remove both of Aaron's characters with that one card. Ariel coming in, Spectacular Singer coming into play, looking at cards, getting a grab your swords off the top of the deck. And now we have a Smee come down for 2 ink. Smee, a really good card. I think it's another card that a lot of us kind of underestimated when we saw him. He does take a damage each turn that he's exerted, unless you have a captain play, and oftentimes in these Steel Song decks you don't. But for 2 ink, he's a 3/3, which is a great stat line with 2 lore. So able to quest and pick you up, some a lot of lore if he sticks around for a couple turns, or able to serve as an offensive body if you need him to. On the other side, though, we see another Flavisham come down. This is one of the keys to this deck is getting Flavishams to activate several times, to eat several items, allowing you to draw a significant number of cards. And I think we've seen now 6 cards off Flavishams, which is pretty good. In the last match in round 1, we saw a scenario where against Ruby, it was really hard to get Flavishams to stick. They would come down, draw a couple cards, and then be removed before they could quest to cards like Brawl and Be King Undisputed. And that's really challenging for these Ruby Sapphire decks if they can't get the card draw they need off Flavishams, get them to at least get 4 cards off each one before they're removed. But here, Matt's able to get a significant number of cards off Flavisham. We still have one in play. Now we have Along Came Zeus being sung, banishing the Sisu there. And Flavisham still on the board, able to draw more cards. And crucially here, we do see the Lucky Dime on Matt's side of the board, and Matt able to build up a sizable inkwell here. So Lucky Dime is one of the cards, necessary to win the game for this deck oftentimes. It's a card that allows you to gain lore from a character of yours equal to their lore. So enable you basically to double the lore of any of your characters if they quest, if they're able to quest, or to get lore off a character as soon as they come in play. And here we're going to see that happen. Sisu coming down, banishing the Ariel, but Sisu a card with 3 lore. I'm willing to bet that we're going to see Matt activate that Lucky Dime and try to get that, scoop up that 3 lore while Sisu's on the board and not susceptible before Aaron has a chance to respond. Or not. Instead, we see the ink spent on Maui. Maui coming down and rushing, immediately removing Smee, getting that body off the board, and now with a significant advantage in terms of board presence. Questing now with Flavisham and Madame Medusa, not activating Flavisham. There's no items there, and the last thing you want to do in this scenario is banish your own dime because you need that. It's worth mentioning that Aaron Steele has some answers to items. He does run Benja in this list. We saw one go into the inkwell in the early game. And so Benja is probably a card. There's some more available in the deck, and we could see it come up to remove that dime. I'm sure Aaron would love to draw into it. In this instance, he is playing Grab Your Sword to deal 2 damage across the board, and then using Queen Regal Monarch to swing into and remove that Flavisham, getting rid of that card draw. So we have a Sisu and a Madame Medusa remaining on the board for characters as we pass the turn back over. Now playing Grandma Tala, Keeper of Ancient Stories, I believe, allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, one on the bottom of your deck, and then Maui doing some work on that queen, and now questing out with everything else. And it looks like we're moving very fast, but it looks like that dime was used to target the Sisu, getting 6 lore off that Sisu, and putting Matt within striking distance of victory now. Another Grab Your Swords coming down, clearing out that High Lore Sisu Maui, just doing work, and the Medusa. So, gosh, a couple of Grab Your Swords, dealing 4 damage across the board over a couple turns, and just clearing out quite a bit. Aaron has continued to gain a lore off songs every single turn with that flute. And now we have another lucky dime, 2 dimes on the board. So any character with lore is threatening significant lore gain. I do believe that Matt is top decking though, so not necessarily able to win on the next turn. We are able to get 3 lore, 1 off Grammatala questing, and then 2 off the dimes. But if we draw any character with a high, well, we have a popsicle. That's not bad. We've drawn the popsicle into, it looks like a How Far I'll Go. So again, not the card that we need, but cards that look for more cards. I do see a Tamatoa there as one of the options. It's a card that Matt would love to have. You see him counting his ink. Not enough ink to play the Tamatoa, it looks like. So trying to pick which one to take. It looks like we took the Tamatoa. We're going to activate the dimes twice to gain 2 lore off Grammatala. Grammatala will quest going up to 19. At this point in the game, any single card that Matt has in his hand that has lore will enable him to win the game with the dime. We do see the Grammatala removed. Aaron doesn't know that Matt has a Tamatoa in hand, which will come down, enable Matt to gain lore quickly off the dime, and that's game. Whew, happened very quick. Very quick, folks. I mean, 1 lucky dime is threatening enough. 2 lucky dimes is really, really rough. In Lorcana, I know some of us were around for the first set. And way back when, there were very, very few cards that enabled players to gain lore that wasn't questing. And so we had this really interesting time in the game where pretty much all of your lore game, with very, very few exceptions, required you to set up your turn, and then allowed your opponent a chance to respond to your board state before it came back to you and you were able to quest with your characters and close out the game. Now, more and more these days, we have cards that allow you to gain lore immediately on your turn without having to set up a quest. You have cards like Lucky Dime, which allow you to gain lore the turn you play a character if it's in play. You also have cards like Sleepy's Flute, which allow you to gain lore immediately without your opponents responding. In Amethyst, that's one of the things that makes Goats so threatening, is it's a card that allows you to gain lore without an opponent responding. And with those cards in the game, it really makes the end game a little more tricky as you're trying to, because rather than preventing your opponent from getting to 16, 17, 18, or to getting from within striking distance of 1 character on the board questing out, you really have to prevent your opponent from getting in the range of 14, 15 lore, because some of these cards like Lucky Dime, cards like Goat Bounces, enable your opponent to push themselves over the edge without a chance for you to respond. And so we see that here, that dynamic in this deck with Lucky Dime. Once a Lucky Dime's on the board, allowing your opponent to get anywhere within 5 or 6 lore of winning is really, really, really dangerous. So it kind of changes, compared to the first set. We're in a completely different game nowadays with these cards. Yeah, in my mind, it makes for a lot more interesting games. So players shuffling up now. We're going to get to see the mulligan as players take a look uh, and alter their hands. Offering decks here for cuts, and we're going to be off to the races. So that was game 1 there for Ruby Sapphire. I did not see who was on the play. I think it was the Ruby Sapphire deck, but we'll know for sure here. Well, no, we don't know for sure. We know that Aaron lost the last game, so Aaron's on the play this game. And Queen coming down again, same first turn play. We know that that's a shift target for Queen Regal Monarch, but at the very least, it's a body on the board. And on the other side, we have Matt playing Ice Block. Great to have a turn one play for Matt, but not the card that he would love to play. I think he'd love to have a popsicle there. We do see the Queen shift here, and then questing immediately for 2 lore. We have the exact same opening from Aaron Rubin this game, and passing it back over to Matt to see what his response is. Develop your brain going into the inkwell, playing 1 jump ahead. Turn 2 play that we see that Sapphire decks love to play with the 3rd ink in the inkwell, building that ink advantage. Now we have a Sleepy's Flute come down on turn 2. Queen singing Whole New World, and this is a fantastic opening here from Aaron. It's an interesting choice not to play the Whole New World last turn. I think the biggest reason that we didn't was because Aaron wanted to get that flute in play and start to get that lore engine going. Whole New World is a really interesting and fantastic early turn play for these Steel Song decks, especially against these control decks. Lorcana has a really generous mulligan system, allowing you to send as many cards away as you want and draw cards, allows you to look for key cards that you need for your curve. So oftentimes you're looking for, in the case of the Ruby Sapphire deck, you're looking for, 1 jump ahead on turn 2. You really want an item, and then you really want to play Flaversham on turn 3 or turn 4, depending on how your ramp's been going. But getting that Flaversham down on turn 4 allows you to get your card draw going, and you've really got your hand set. What playing Whole New World does, particularly into control decks, is that plan that you have, those cards that you've drawn into, that script that you're running through, is completely thrown out the window. And so now Matt, forced to draw into a whole fresh hand, may have drawn into the cards that he wants, but there's also a good chance that he's drawn into a number of cards which you rather would not have seen until the late game. So not only does this refill Aaron's hand and allow him to start building up his singer base again, there we have a Benja banishing the ice block, but it sends away the script that Matt has built through altering his hand and through his first few turn card draws. And so Matt kind of on the back foot here. Aaron taking full advantage of it. You see flooding the board here with a whole bunch of characters. We have Robin Hoods there. Benja getting rid of the ice block is kind of crucial. Not only, well, the ice block for its ability is fine, but it was sitting there as a really tempting Hiram target. Hiram loves his popsicles and he loves his ice blocks, and getting that off the board was great, because if he'd drawn into a Hiram, it wouldn't have had a target there. But we do see the popsicle played. Now we have another 1 jump ahead and another 1 jump ahead. So drawing into several of those, forced to spend a whole turn playing those uninkable cards, does give him a significant ink advantage. But I have to take a look at the hand size there. Probably not. I have four cards in hand, 5 cards in hand. Really kind of on the back foot here still, I would argue, against Aaron as he builds his board state. But with that big pile of ink Matt has available over there, able to do a significant number of things in the end game, and perhaps perhaps looking for be prepared at this point to kind of reset things as Aaron as Aaron builds his mob over there. So Aaron here thinking about what to do. Benja, not only a great item removal, but Benja has 2 lore. Any card with 2 lore sticking on the board for another turn is just good. So Aaron here questing with 2 lore on the Queen, 2 lore with Benja, and then the Robin Hoods questing for 6 lore, pushing him to 12. And again, with that Sleepy's Flute on the board, and with in the range of 20 songs, 18 to 20 songs in this deck, most likely, that is a clock. That is an 8-turn clock. So every lore that Aaron gets now just gets him closer. There we go. What happened here? So Sisu coming down, clearing out the board. I missed. I'm gonna be honest. I missed how we cleared out the Queen Regal Monarch there. I'm sure in Twitch chat you're letting me know. I don't see the ice blocks to reduce your strength, but nevertheless, wiping the board there, and then Aaron responding with 2 Smees. Really fun answers. They're cheap, and they get 2 lore each. So a great response, inviting perhaps another board clear, because having 4 lore on the board with those Smees is not terribly palatable for the Ruby Sapphire player there. So we're kind of getting Maui goes into the inkwell, and for one we do have an ice block come into play, and we're going to have a Sisu. So Ice Block able to reduce the strength of one of those Smees to 2, and that Sisu coming down, then able to clear out that one Smee, leaving that 1 on the board available to quest. So, I did talk about the endgame engine that Matt's trying to build here, looking for those Lucky Dimes, Tamatos, etc. But at this point, able to stick 2 Sisus on the board, 2 3-cost Sisus. That is, or 2 3 lore Sisus, I'm sorry. That's a lot. 6 is a lot of lore to stick around over there. So, Matt, if those Sisus stick around, able to perhaps push him very close to victory. So, Aaron, probably looking for spots at this point. Questing for 2 with Smee, going to 14 lore. And one thing I'll point out here is Aaron has been he's made some choices with inking and is not inked every turn. It could be because of uninkables. We do know that there's quite a few uninkable songs in this deck, although we haven't seen many Storm Rages on this. So anyway, a lot of uninkables in this deck. That might be the issue, or again, choosing to play his cards, and rather than ink them. So not a lot of options available each turn. We do have a Let the Storm Rage on, targeting the Sisu there. An uninkable card, so perhaps playing into that issue. Gaining a lore there off Sleepy's Flute, pushing him to 15. And now let's see which way we go, because we do have 7 lore showing on the board. Another Storm Rage on, there we go. Removing that Sisu. So that feels a lot more comfortable for lore on Matt's side of the board rather than 7. And passing it back over to Matt to see what his response is. Matt, checking his discard pile. And now back to the hand. And let's see, it's a lot of ink. Venture to guess we see a Tamatoa, pulling back an Ice Block. We'll have both Sisu and Madame Medusa quest, it looks like, going up to 13 lore. And it really is kind of a race at this point. Aaron playing another Sleepy's Flute. So able to gain 2 lore turn-off songs. Here we have Let the Storm Rage On, enabling Aaron to draw a card, but crucially enabling him to activate 2 flutes, sending him up to 17. And now we really have games showing on the board for Aaron with 1 lore with a Robin Hood and then 2 lore showing with the flutes if there's a song in hand. So Matt, doing some counting and has it looks like 3 with the Sisu and the Tamatoa with 1, 2, 3 items on board, pushing Tamatoa up to 4 lore, plus the Sisu, plus the Madame Medusa. That is it. I think that is right on 20. So Aaron, unfortunately, not able to draw into the exact amount of removal he needed to prevent Matt from closing out the game there with that Tamatoa, it looks like. Whew. All right, folks. That was a fun game. That was a fun game. So again, Aaron Rubin, pro player, really good Lorcana player, and we've seen him play high in Lorcana Challenge, bringing a Steel Song deck in here. Wasn't quite able, and got close with those flutes, but wasn't quite able to find the answers he needed to deal with Matt's board over there. And then Matt kind of doing what Ruby Sapphire wants to do. Although in this is a bit of a different matchup. No Lucky Dimes used to close out game 2. Rather, just controlling the board, dropping those high lore characters, those Sisus down there with 3 lore, and without the response on Aaron's side, those Sisus just able to help him close out the game. So yeah, really fun matchup. All right, folks. Once again, we are bringing you a 1K here in Austin, Texas at Game Kastle Austin. This is my local game store, so it's a place I'm very passionate about. I know most of us have game stores that we like to call home. This one is mine, so I'm super excited to be here showing off, the event that they're running with some of my local players. We have some pro players here in the Central Texas area. It's a really strong Lorcana scene. If you're watching from South Florida, I've heard, South Florida folks claim that they have the best Lorcana scene in the country. I think we'll have to battle it out one day with a Florida, Central Texas Lorcana off, because we do have a good scene here, but let's call it a draw for now. And we have a lot of really new players, the great burgeoning community here building up. So we do have players here playing in their very first competitive Lorcana event, and in some instances, their very first competitive TCG event. So a really good mix of players here today at my LGS, and I'm excited to be here with you all commentating and just enjoying some really good Lorcana. Thank you so much to the 20 Lore Pro team. If you're not familiar with 20 Lore Pro, it's a fantastic organization. They have a Discord server and a pretty strong community where they're really passionate about not only bringing you streams like this so you can watch Lorcana play from the comforts of your own home or on your phone, wherever you are, perhaps you're at work, whatever you're doing, but they're also a really supportive community that are passionate about helping people get better at Lorcana and just spreading the word about this fantastic game. So if you're unfamiliar with 20 Lore Pro, if you haven't jumped in their Discord server or gotten familiar with what they're doing, I encourage you to do that. It's just a great group of folks, and I can't thank them enough for asking us to be here today, commentate as they bring you or commentating as they bring you the stream. So, with that. I'm going to sign off for the moment and go talk to some of these players, see what the scene's like out there. If you're watching us, don't go away. We'll have more Lorcana coming up shortly after this. And once again, thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
We are here with Matt, who we just saw 2-0'd with his Ruby Sapphire deck. Matt, how you feeling after that round?
Felt good. It was a favorable matchup, so, I'll take it. But yeah, it's always nice to 2-0, 2-0 round one as well, so I'm feeling great right now.
So has Ruby Sapphire been kind of your deck of choice, or is this kind of a new deck to you in this current meta? What's going on? What's the background?
So set one was basically my first time deep diving into TCG, so I didn't really have a deck I played. I was just trying them out. Sets 2 and 3, I was all about the blue steel. But coming into this set, I decided I just wanted to find a deck that I thought was really good and get really, really good at it and just practice it and grind it. And I decided to go red-blue because I feel like it has favorable matchups into everything except maybe Ruby Amethyst. So I've just been playing a lot of it, and it's definitely my deck of choice right now in this meta. I enjoy it a lot.
So is Lorcana your first TCG experience?
I've touched Magic a little bit, but Lorcana is amazing. I love Lorcana. So it's the first one I've really gone into, gotten competitive about it, and taken it seriously and played at tournaments.
Why Lorcana? What made you choose this game?
So my uncle's been playing TCG for 20 years. He's been playing Magic. He has a YouTube channel, Awesome Nerd Dad. He's really good. And he got into Lorcana, told me to play it. I was like, oh, another TCG? Magic was horrible. I don't want to play it. And then finally he convinces me. So I tried out Pixelborn and I fell in love with the game. It's such a fun game. It's so good. I love Disney, classic Disney. I love the art in the game. Just everything about it's super fun. So my uncle got me into it. I give credit to him.
It's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your deck. I mean, obviously you had a great couple of rounds. What is your ideal line of play that you're looking for coming out of the gate?
So 99% of the time you want to have Popsicle on one jump ahead on 2, and then Flavershim on 4. Grammatala can be good on 4 though, depending on what you're playing against. Against aggressive decks, you definitely want to go Tala to have that extra power to be able to challenge Queen's Castle or some of the smaller characters. But you can still go Flavershim, assuming they play Queen's Castle, and Flavershim and Maui can take that out as well. So there's flexibility for sure. The most important part is definitely one jump ahead on turn 2, because getting that early ramp and being able to get your draw engine going and start to control the board early is very important. Missing that, you're just a turn behind, and aggressive decks just get really far ahead of you. So definitely hard mulligan for one jump ahead. I mulliganed 7 cards that second game, if you guys saw, because I didn't have one jump ahead. I didn't have a Popsicle, so I sent them all back, and I got a pretty good hand. So you got to risk it.
And what are you looking to play towards? Kind of what card are you anticipating towards the end?
Yeah, so I think in all of the steel matchups, Tamatoa is the amazing card that you want to get. Against Emerald Steel, you can discard your dimes in the early game, and then Tamatoa will bring it back, and you'll finish the game out. And against most decks, they just can't kill it. Like, the only real answers for it is, like, in Ruby, they can Left Sent Dragon it, or they have Tremaine and Beaking Undisputed if it's the only thing on the board. Other than that, it's unanswerable for most decks right now. So yeah, definitely the end game plan is to get to a Tamatoa, but obviously on turn 5, it's most likely either going to be playing another Tala or a Flowershim or Maui if you're having to control the board state a little bit. And so yeah, you're just kind of trying to curve out, just keep playing big things that are hard to answer, and just keep controlling and just clutch it up in the end and just get a bunch of lore in a couple turns with the dime.
Well, I know, so you're new to TCGs. I know a lot of folks are picking up Lorcana as their first card game. I want to talk to you a little bit about your strategy. I mean, we're here at a little bit of a smaller tournament, but you're also preparing for a Disney Lorcana Challenge in Fort Worth. What are you looking to do? How are you preparing for a big event like that?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that this event is helping me with is just figuring out what people are playing, why they're playing it, and just trying to figure out if this is the favorable matchup I want. I do think against literally everything besides for Ruby Amethyst, it's great. So, every deck has its bad matchup. So I think I'm pretty locked on Ruby Sapphire. But yeah, Yeah, just getting to know like the mindset of players, like why they're making the decisions they're making on the decks they're playing and their strategy is going to help me be prepared to play against that. Be prepared. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's the big thing here is just getting practice before the challenge, getting to know kind of the strategies and reasons behind decks that people are playing. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to in Fort Worth? I mean, obviously, besides playing the challenge itself, there's lots of fun side events, cool swag. Is there anything you're excited for?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to side events. Obviously, I would way rather make top cut and play in that day too. But if that doesn't work out, which it's a very rare chance to be able to make that, side events will still be fun. I love the foil alternate arts they have for Rapunzel and Cinderella. They're beautiful. I don't think I'll be able to get enough points for the playmat, but that would obviously be the dream. But I'm also probably going to stop at Six Flags while I'm up there, which is pretty cool. I'm wearing a Universal shirt right now. I love theme parks, so that's going to be a nice stop on the trip up there too.
Okay, so speaking of theme parks, have you had any Disney experience? Disneyland, Disney World, what's your favorite?
So yeah, I haven't been to Disney World, but I grew up in Southern California going to Disneyland at least once a year, if not multiple times a year. My dad used to take us all the time. He bought us passes. So it's so nostalgic for me. Before I moved out here, I visited twice in 2023. And yeah, all those old rides just hit something inside. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so nostalgic and so fun. And just the sounds and the smells, I love it so much. I love Disneyland.
Do you have a favorite ride at Disneyland?
At Disneyland, it would probably have to be Indiana Jones. That ride, refurbished it this last year, and oh my gosh, the vehicles are moving crazier. They have a bunch of new lighting effects. They fixed a bunch of broken ones. That one's amazing. But probably my all-time favorite would have to be Guardians of the Galaxy at across the road at California Adventure. That's like my favorite drop tower ever. It just has so much energy in the music. It's so much fun. I love that ride so much.
So, what would you think about in the future having some Marvel characters in Lorcana?
I think that anything they want to put in the game would be cool. I want to see Pixar still. I want Monsters Inc. Where's Mike and Sully? Where's Toy Story? That's what I want right now. But yeah, Marvel would be cool. I don't think Star Wars would happen because Star Wars has its own card game, but Marvel would be sick. I would like Marvel for sure.
It's awesome. Well, it was so great to get to know you, Matt, and look forward to seeing how you play out the rest of the day.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.